Hey folks, welcome to another episode of our podcast. Today, we're diving into a topic that's been a hot button issue for years but has never been more relevant than it is today: Islamophobia in the media. Now, you might be wondering, why should I care? Well, whether you're a Muslim or not, the way Muslims are portrayed in the media affects us all. It shapes our perceptions, fuels divisions, and has real-world consequences. So, what's the end game here? We're not just here to point fingers or play the blame game. Our goal is to dissect the issue, look at it from multiple angles, and hopefully, just hopefully, pave the way for a more nuanced and informed discussion. We'll be diving into statistics, case studies, and even talking to some experts in the field. Here's a quick rundown of what you can expect in this episode. We'll start by looking at the rise of Islamophobia and how the media has played a role in that. Then we'll delve into the common stereotypes and misrepresentations you've probably seen or heard. We'll also be analyzing specific media coverage and discussing the real-world impact of these portrayals. And finally, we'll talk about what can be done to combat this issue. So, buckle up, because this is gonna be a deep dive into a topic that needs more attention. Whether you're here to learn, to challenge your own perceptions, or just to get a different perspective, there's something in this episode for you. Let's get started. So, welcome back to the podcast. Now, we're tackling a topic that's been making headlines but for all the wrong reasons: the rise of Islamophobia. Now, you might be thinking, why should I care? Well, stick around, and you'll see just how this issue impacts not just Muslim communities but society at large. Let's kick things off with a bit of history. Islamophobia isn't something that just popped up overnight. It's been brewing for years, exacerbated by geopolitical conflicts, terrorist attacks, and, let's be honest, media portrayals. According to a study by the Council on American Islamic Relations, or CAIR, there's been a significant uptick in anti-Muslim hate crimes since the early 2000s. And that's not a coincidence. It correlates with how Muslims are portrayed in the media. It's referred to CAIR Report on Islamophobia. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty, the numbers. According to the FBI's hate crime statistics, anti-Muslim hate crimes in the U.S. have surged by about 67% since 2015. That's not just a number. Those are real people facing real discrimination. And it's not just in the U.S. This is a global issue. In the UK, for instance, Islamophobic incidents increased by 375% just a week after the Christchurch mosque shootings in New Zealand. These infos were taken from FBI Hate Crime Statistics, UK police data. All right. Let's talk about the elephant in the room: the media. You see, the media plays a huge role in shaping public opinion. A study from Georgia State University found that terrorist attacks by Muslim perpetrators received, on average, 357% more media coverage than those by non-Muslims. That's staggering and shows just how skewed the narrative can be. These data are taken Georgia State University study. So, what's the takeaway here? Islamophobia is on the rise, and it's fueled, in part, by how Muslims are portrayed in the media. But hey, that's just the tip of the iceberg. We've got a lot more ground to cover, so stay tuned for the next segment, where we'll dive into the stereotypes and misrepresentations that are all too common. Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're just tuning in, we're diving deep into the issue of Islamophobia in the media. In this segment, we're gonna unpack some of the stereotypes and misrepresentations that have been perpetuated about Muslims. Trust me, you'll want to stick around for this. Let's start by laying it all out on the table. When you think of Muslims in the media, what comes to mind? Terrorists? Oppressed women? Yeah, these stereotypes are not only harmful but also wildly inaccurate. According to a report by the Muslim Public Affairs Council, Muslims are often portrayed as extremists or terrorists in about 90% of movies and TV shows that feature a Muslim character. Now let's get specific. Remember the movie American Sniper? It was a box office hit, but it also drew criticism for its portrayal of Iraqis as terrorists. And it's not just Hollywood. News outlets are guilty too. A study by the University of Alabama found that Muslims are overrepresented as perpetrators of terrorism on major news networks. So, what's the real-world impact of all this negative press? Well, it's not just hurt feelings. It's leading to increased discrimination, racial profiling, and even violence against Muslim communities. A report by the Institute for Social Policy and Understanding found that 1 in 4 Muslim families in the U.S. reported experiencing discrimination in the past year. All right, folks, that wraps up this segment. We've looked at how stereotypes and misrepresentations in the media are not just misleading but downright dangerous. But don't go anywhere. We've got more to cover, including some eye-opening case studies that you won't want to miss. Welcome back, everyone. If you're just joining us, we're dissecting the issue of Islamophobia in the media. We've covered the rise of Islamophobia and the stereotypes that fuel it. Now, we're gonna get into the nitty-gritty with some real-world case studies. Trust me, this is where things get interesting. All right, let's dive in. Remember the Boston Marathon bombing back in 2013? The media was quick to speculate about the involvement of Muslims, even before any evidence was presented. A study by the Center for Media and Public Affairs found that Muslims were mentioned in 32% of news stories about the bombing, despite the fact that the perpetrator's religious background was not confirmed at that time. Let's look at another example: the Ground Zero Mosque controversy. The media framed it as if a terrorist training camp was being built at Ground Zero, when in reality, it was a community center 2 blocks away. This kind of misleading coverage only serves to fan the flames of Islamophobia. So, what have we learned from these case studies? The media has a powerful role in shaping public opinion, and when it comes to Islam and Muslims, that power is often used irresponsibly. But don't go anywhere. We've still got more ground to cover, including the real-world consequences of media-induced Islamophobia. Stay tuned. All right, folks, we're at the final leg of our journey today. We've dissected the issue, looked at its consequences, and now it's time to talk solutions. How can we combat Islamophobia in the media? Let's dive in. First up, let's talk about responsible reporting. Journalists and media outlets have a duty to report the facts, not fan the flames of prejudice. That means avoiding sensational headlines, verifying sources, and providing context. It's not just about what you report, but how you report it. Media organizations should also consider diversity training to help reporters understand the nuances of covering Muslim communities. Next, let's talk about the digital age. Social media and citizen journalism have democratized the news landscape. That's both a blessing and a curse. On one hand, it gives voice to the marginalized. On the other, it can spread misinformation like wildfire. So, if you're a citizen journalist or even just a social media user, you have a role to play. Fact check before you share, and consider the impact of your words. Finally, let's bring it home. What can you, the listener, do to make a difference? Well, a lot actually. Be critical of what you consume, and don't be afraid to call out media bias when you see it. Support organizations fighting against Islamophobia and consider donating to causes that promote media literacy. Your voice matters, and collectively, we can make a difference. And there we have it. We've tackled a complex issue today, but remember, understanding is the first step to solving any problem. Thanks for sticking with me through this deep dive into Islamophobia in the media. I hope you're walking away more informed and empowered to make a change. Thank you for joining me on this important journey. If you found this podcast valuable, please share it with others who might benefit. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into pressing issues. Until next time, stay informed and be kind. Signing off.